do. So my name is Colette Morneau. I'm Director of Inclusion. And normally I'll do a coffee morning with an inclusion slant, but when we were talking about parents, etc., I think anxiety is something that we know is around a lot for children nowadays. So it was lovely for me to just put out a workshop that hopefully will touch parents that don't necessarily have children who are on the SEND register. So, a practical approach to supporting an anxious child. What I want to do is, I've touched on the theory, and a lot of these slides are taken from the sort of mental health institutes about how to advise. So I'm going to talk through those, show you those, but also I wanted to add some practical tips from someone that's been in schools for 30 years. So this is really as well, that taking this and knowing children and really being able to say, this really is something that you should be doing because I've seen it work with children, and it's something then that I've maybe used with my own children, okay? So it is a natural response to stress. We all know that. We all have anxiety at times. And I think, again, it's about the vocabulary as well. Good morning, please come in. Do we use the word stress with a small s? Do we use the word stress with a big S? Do we use the word anxiety, which I think starts to bring connotations in there? So I do think the vocabulary is very important. We all do need a little bit of stress. If my son didn't have some stress, he wouldn't get out of bed and get himself to university. So it is a functioning need that we have, but it's what happens when that becomes not as functional as we want it to be. So why is my child anxious? So most children have anxiety, but some children are predispositioned to more anxiety, and it can be lots of reasons. It can be that they've had a distressing or traumatic event. It can be that there's things going on in the family. It can be that there's been death of a grandparent or a movement of a country. There can be those very normal stressful events. And obviously school, if they've moved school. We're international, so we do ask a lot of our children often. Often we are working big, busy jobs. If the children have a stable school experience, their friends may come and go, and that actually might add to their stress, because we know how children bond with their best friend. If their best friend then moves, and then maybe another best friend moves, then all of a sudden that child may internalise that actually I shouldn't get too close to this friend, because that actually might not be a secure friendship, and that can then lead to a cycle of anxiety. So we are recognising that the world we live in, generally and specifically, is something that does add stressors to our children, and it's something that we obviously need to think about how we're going to handle that alongside them. And I think that's the theme of this, not for them. And that's the biggest challenge as parents. So symptoms, worrying about things before they happen, worrying about friends and activities, that can lead to obviously refusal to go to school. Stomach aches, I think we've all had, sorry about that anyway, we all have physical feelings of anxiety if you have an interview or you have something big going on. But obviously we can reflect and know what that is. We are often supporting children going into exams, and we have a small room here as exam access arrangements, so the inclusion team support the children there. And it's really nice to be able to support them, because often they've got those just exam anxieties. But we're very, very gentle, very calming, and we just remind them that actually that's the same response as excitement. You know, whatever's going on in your tummy is going on there when you're anxious or when you're excited. And again, we're just always reframing it to make sure that the children understand that some of these physical responses are actually quite natural too. So, clingy behaviour, feeling like there's a lump in your throat, feeling tired. So this is the full range of symptoms to varying degrees that our children might experience. Okay, so top tips. The first one, it's not to eliminate, and it's when I said about the doing with, not to. So we do know that lots of parents do get quite anxious about their child's anxiety, and there can be this narrative of we need to remove the stressor. For us in school, often that can be to do with friendships. You know, I don't want them in a class with that child, they're experiencing some meanness. And often as a parent, the first instinct, we all do it, isn't it? It's like, if I could take the pain, I would take your pain. You know, I want that to stop for you. But actually, good morning.
Sorry, I was waiting to continue.
Oh, sorry. But actually, the accepted the accepted way forward is to say that it's fine to have anxiety. We're not going to eliminate it. We're going to help you to get through it. Okay. And on that, don't have them avoid things just because it makes them anxious. That does not support your anxious child. Okay. We need to support them to face it, to give them tools and strategies to make sure that they understand. So we're normalising anxiety, and then we're saying, look, face it and it'll be fine and we can get you through. So we do not want to avoid it for them. Okay. So express positive but realistic expectations. Okay. You cannot promise that their fears are unrealistic or that something isn't going to happen. You cannot say that. So the example is about falling at ice skating there. You can't say, don't worry, mummy won't let that happen, or we're not going to let that happen, because it may happen. And then you've broken a trust bond with your child. Yes, things may happen, but actually this is what we're going to do to support that, and you'll be fine. And we look for evidence, okay? You can manage it, you'll be fine. So that's what we're trying to do. So it's realistic expectations, and over time, they'll build their own internal evidence. And this is something, when I've been working with therapists, that's a really important tool to use, is the evidence. What is your evidence for this? What evidence do you have? A child is younger, then you will have the evidence for them. That you may fall over, you may bump your knee, but the world won't end. Yeah? You might not do well in this test, but you know what, if we revise, and we might do better in the next test, but it's okay. This is a really important one about validating feelings. And when I was first parenting, that's something that maybe I wasn't great at, and it's something I've had to learn over time, is to validate the feelings. Never ever ever say, no, that's silly, yeah, you don't feel like that, you shouldn't feel like that, because that's not validating. They're feeling their feelings, we call it holding them. So we validate the feelings, so I understand, I hear you, okay, that's valid for you at this moment in time. However, what can we do about that? Okay, we're going to help you work through that. So I know you're feeling scared, I know you're feeling anxious. If they've got friendship problems, I know you don't want to go to school tomorrow because you're feeling anxious about your friendship, and you might not sit with somebody at lunch because you've told me that. However, I think that if you do go into school and you do speak to your teacher, and you may find someone else to sit with at lunch, then you've got that calm validation of their feelings, but you're starting to look for solutions with them. But the validation of feelings is actually really, really paramount. And I, as I say, have fallen foul with that. And I remember with my daughter, she does actually have generalised anxiety disorder, and we were on holiday. And I wanted to go from the hotel out to a coffee shop, but there was a crowd of youths nearby. And I said to her, I said, no, you're fine, you're with me, come on, don't be silly. Do you hear the words I've just used? I've just done everything that it said not to do. But my immediate instinct was to say, you know, I'm the hero, I got this, you're safe with me. And then I was really confused why she wasn't, because, you know, I'm very powerful, very strong, and very capable. But I wasn't validating her feelings in that moment. I wasn't helping her reframe them. And so what I should have done is pause. I learned that, we went back and we discussed it. We talked about how I could have done that better with her. But definitely it's about how we empower them and how the young person feels. Because all I did then as well was I added shame onto her, if we think about emotions. So she's feeling anxiety, and then I've shamed her because she can't cope. So that was something that I've taken with me, and I definitely make sure that I use that with her and use that with other children. It's funny, isn't it? I do this job and I've done it for 30 years, And there are times that I will say things to my own children that I would never say to your children, for example. But again, that's parent instinct. And remember, you only ever do it from the right place, okay? So it's okay. If you're reflecting now that maybe you've made those mistakes, you can go back and you can try not to repeat them. And I say try, because sometimes you may slip up, because you're human and you're busy. And obviously, if that wasn't a holiday and that was work, and I needed to get to work because I need to clock in, and my child is holding back because they're having an anxious moment, how am I not going to go, just get in the car now? Do you know what I mean? And so again, that's that support, that validating their feelings. But I'll come on to that, because again, it's about getting to know that your child has that anxiety. So what can you then do in terms of preparing for those moments? Again, don't ask leading questions. This does go to school, this does go to being a parent at school, and we can do that. So it's the questions, what, are you anxious? You know, did Lily sit with you at lunch? Or, you know, I bet, it's those things, isn't it? So it's leading questions. And we've seen it in children. Sometimes they're not anxious, but your leading question has taken them to a place of, oh, should I be feeling strong feelings about this? Like I wasn't, but why is mum checking in on me about this? So really, if we can be as ambiguous as possible and just ask big questions. So how are you feeling? Yeah. How does that make you feel? So that we're not leading them, okay? Maybe if you are teasing in because you do want to check in, you could say, what did lunch look like today? So you're not pinpointing the event that you're feeling anxious about. You're giving that general, just give me some information that we can work with about how you are feeling, okay? Again, don't reinforce their fears. It's that validation, but it's also, so we're not saying this is something, and obviously bullying is a big trigger for parents, we know that. So, and often people go back to an experience they've had and they want to eliminate it for themselves, okay? So what we need to do is just help them get through it. So it's validating. Yet friendship problems can be difficult, okay? Let's think about how we can solve that. So again, we're validating, but we're not reinforcing it. And the last thing you want to do is be the parent that gets on the phone and is full of fire and wants Mr. Sadler to remove any child that's been mean to your child in school. Because if we go back to those early top tips, we don't want to remove the stressors, because a mean person one day is going to be another mean person another day. So it's how do we equip our young people to deal with and cope with the stresses that they are going to face. And it goes into life, you know. I'm here, having been in the workplace for many, many years, and I will come across people that cause me a level of anxiety in our interactions, but it's how do I deal with that? I'm not going to go to Miss Coulter and say, I want that person removed from school. Do you know what I mean? So it's how do we support that, and we don't want to give them that message. You all have certain things. My sister-in-law is scared of spiders, and the whole household is now scared of spiders, and we're talking the tiniest. I'm not scared of spiders. So I have to remember to validate her fear of spiders. I'm okay with her fear of spiders, but I don't think it's healthy that we're screaming and shouting and the children are now on chairs too. So let's work on that, shall we, about how we could more functionally deal with the fact that we have a spider in the house. And I think that's really what we're doing with that anxiety. So again, I keep repeating this. It's about letting the child tolerate the anxiety, teaching them deep breathing, letting them breathe through, letting them sit with those feelings and understand what they might mean, how they might, and that they will get over them. So just sit, just breathe through it. The world isn't going to end. Just think about the world around you, do some grounding, give me 3 things that you can see, what can you touch, what's beneath your feet. So those are the grounding exercises that allows the child to realise that whatever the stress is, it's not the end of the world right here, right now, in the moment. And then we can come on to thinking about if it's future forward fears, and that's when we get into anxieties too. So the anticipatory period, they know an exam is coming. I mean, if I'm really honest with you, sometimes here we've got the exam countdown, It's like, I'm not sure the exam countdown in secondary school is supporting this, that anticipatory period. But certainly for you, if it's the morning of the exam, just keep your morning of the exam as calm as possible. You know, how are you feeling today, rather than are you anxious about your exam, okay? This is a big morning for you. Let's make sure we get a good breakfast in you, we do some nice deep breathing. Let's think about the holiday that we've got booked for the summer, so that life isn't just about that event, and the next, 6 hours are not about that event that's about to come up, because all we're going to do is sit. Cortisol levels are going to go up, and obviously that's when anxiety can become dysfunctional for the young person. So holding back, again, that's supporting, just receive what the child is bringing to you or the young person is bringing to you, okay? And then talk through the what ifs, because that can also be the anxiety. I started with the what if Lily doesn't sit with you at lunch? What might that look like? Who might you go speak to? So again, it's about that listening. So what are the anxieties? Where are they coming for? Never make a promise, as we said at the start. So for example, this one is about an anxious, about what if you don't pick me up after ECA. Never promise that you won't, even if you've been to every ECA, because the one that you don't creates the evidence, and we talked about evidence. So you just revisit that and say, look, mummy is usually there, obviously I've got mums here, or daddy is usually there, but what if, what might happen, why might mummy not be there? If your child is old enough to say, well, the traffic, or but if they're younger, you could introduce that. So yeah, the traffic might prevent me from picking up the ECA on time, and what might you do? And again, if they're older, you tease it out from them. If they're younger, it might be a social story where you say, these are the things that might happen if mummy finds herself late for an ECA. And then what you're giving them is the tools to understand that it's not the end of the world. So that anxiety about what might happen, you can support it by saying, these are the things that would happen, that we can help minimise and reduce. Going back to, you're not necessarily going to take it away, but you can help habituate so that they understand that this is not something that needs to ruin their day, that actually there are solutions, and that they can start to take on some of those solutions themselves. Okay, and then modelling healthy ways of expressing anxiety. Children listen to everything. They've got bat ears. They know exactly what's going on in your home. I'm afraid to say, sorry about that. And they will take on how you respond to the world. That was very keen to me after COVID. During COVID, I kept an incredibly calm house, even though I was a real doom scroller myself. And there was just one day when I demonstrated a little bit of anxiety, and that's when my son kind of stopped. And it was like, what's going on here? Because he was just feeding off my calm nature. So, and at the point he picked it up, thankfully he came and spoke to me about it, and I was like, oh sorry, just mummy's having a bit of a bad day, but it's fine, because what mummy's going to do about that is. So as long as I understand that yes, stress is a normal part of life, you guys are going to feel stressed, you can share that with them. Yeah, mummy's feeling a little bit stressed today because I've got 15 things to do all at once. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a now next board, I'm going to do a to-do list, and I've got this. And what you're doing is you're modelling the tools that they can then use too, and you're showing them that it is a part of life, that you're human too, because obviously you don't want to be so superhuman that they can't live up to your superhuman abilities. What they need to see is that as I get older and more equipped, I'm going to be as good as mummy and daddy at dealing with the stress that life brings me, because life does bring those small stresses to my door. So